Hi, I'm Malcolm and this is just a very short video on the use of Excel. I may do one or two more of these if there's a need for more advanced techniques. This one I'm calling Steve 1, which will be understood by at least one person possibly watching this. What I'd like to do is just switch to Excel here, and we'll start off with a very simple spreadsheet. Now I'm going to, in 5 or 10 minutes, do a number of quite detailed things. Here they are here. Number formats, formulae, how to enter them. A thing called relative and absolute addressing. That's absolutely the core to how spreadsheets work. Then a bit about layout and scrolling. So to start off, number format. So put in here simple shopping list, milk, bread and rice. The only problem with that is it doesn't look very good because the numbers here are not in monetary units. So you can change the format, and Excel has some shortcuts for that. If you look up at the top here, that's meant to be money, the notes and coins, percentage, just commas for normal numbers. So I'm going to change it to money. Because I'm set up in the UK, that changes to pounds. You can, however, choose different ones here. You can change it to dollars if I wish. So this drop down menu can go in pounds, dollars, euros. And you can affect the number of decimal points here. You can make it 3 places after the point or 2 places after the point, if that's easier. Because I've set up pounds as 2, it sticks to that. So that now looks a little bit neater. And what I'd like to do now is put in the cost of more than 1 unit. So I'm going to put in the cost of 2 units here. And eventually I'll go in and put in the cost of 3 units. But obviously what you want in a spreadsheet is to be able to be a bit flexible about that. So what I'm going to do is drag over these cells here and I'm going to move them down. I'll actually just insert one row across here. So if you drag across a block like this and right click, you can insert cells. And in this one I want to select this, shift them down. So all I'm doing is creating an extra row. Notice that because I only selected 4 cells, it only pushed these ones down. So the ones at the right, this stuff here stayed. There's no additional line in here. So I can now make it the cost of 1 unit, 2 units and 3 units so that we can use a formula. So this one here, how are we going to get that? We're going to multiply 2 numbers together. It's quite easy. Equals that one there times 2. Nice and simple. This one will be equals, all formulas start with an equals that cell there times 2 again. And this one here will be equals that one there times 2. But of course what we're doing is typing in 2 each time. It would be much better to use this number up here. So let's use this number up here instead. So instead of saying equals cell B3 times 2, I don't know if you can see that, it's quite small there. What we can do is B3 times this cell up here. And that's brilliant. That now gives us the same result. Again, this one here, B4 times this cell here. But this is quite laborious. We're putting in each one manually. This cell here times this one here. What I'd like to do is put in one formula that does all of them. And this is exactly where the power of Excel comes in. So for this cell here, I'm now going to leave it as it is. It's if I double click on it, actually, it highlights the cells I'm multiplying. It's multiplying the £1 on the left by the 2 units above. Perfect. What I'd like to do is copy that formula down. But this is where it gets a bit confused because it needs to know that this cell stays the same every time. This one here refers to the cell to the left and C2. This one here refers to the cell to the left and C3. So to do that, what I do up here, I tell it I don't want it to go down row 3, 4, 5. I always want it to stay at number 2. So I put $1 in there. So that formula there is B3 times C $2. And the $2 means always keep it as row 2. And that's the essential of the formula. Now, if I drag this little handle at the bottom, notice how it becomes a black plus. That's the little dot I'm picking up, becomes a black plus. Drag it down, it's now copied the formula down. The really clever bit is if I go in one cell at a time, this cell here is the cell on the left and C2. This cell here is the cell on the left and C2. This cell here is the cell on the left and C2. What I could now do is drag this formula across, but I've got to be really careful here. If I drag it across, what's it going to do? It always assumes relative addressing unless you make it absolute. So if there is not a dollar, it adds 1 to the cell, it moves it across. So that's not actually going to work, because when I click on this cell, it's the cell 1 to the left. That's not what I want. So what I want here, when I drag it across, I want it to keep it always in column 1, because that's where the fixed amount is. So I put a dollar this time in front of the B. So again, look at this formula. This is absolutely the key to copying formula in Excel. It's $B, then 3 without a dollar. So that means keep it in column B, but allow the row number to change. Times column C, $2. So it can change, but the row 2 doesn't change. So now, when I copy it across, it actually works. So I can copy it both ways. If I change this 2 units to 5 units, it works. If I change this to 8 units, it works. So that is the core to how all spreadsheets work. So what I've covered now is I've covered the number formats, which was about putting it in pounds or dollars. I've done a little bit about formula, about how formula work, and very specifically I've looked at relative and absolute addressing. And that's what spreadsheets are really about, relative and absolute addressing. All addressing is relative. In other words, when you copy it across, it'll look at the next column, the next column, the next column, unless you use that dollar sign. And as I pointed out in this formula, the dollar can go in different places. You can have $B3, or you can have C$2. A bit of a homework question here, or something to think about. What happens if I go down here, if I go down here and enter a new formula, say here, which is equals, and I'll select this cell here, B4. What if I put a dollar in front of the B and the 4? Right, if I make it $B, $4, okay? So that is looking at cell B4, always staying on column B, always staying on row 4. The result is, if I drag it across, it stays the same. If I drag it down, it stays the same. So whatever I put in here, it will copy it to all of these cells. Okay, if I make that 0.99, it copies it, because in every one of these cells is pointing to exactly the same cell, equals $B, $4. So that's what relative and absolute addressing is about, and that's really the key thing. Now, just a little word about layout. That was really what I was doing here. What you want to do is keep the variable separate. Instead of writing cost of 2 units and cost of 3 units, you should actually only ever need one formula. So I've deleted the rest. Cost of X units, when X is 5, this is what you get. I think I'll delete these ones again. You can actually drag this handle upwards to delete them. So this is cost of 1 unit, this is the cost of X units. So that's one way you can do it. Also in terms of layout, one thing that's worth noting, notice this relative and absolute addressing is on 2 lines. That's because I've told it to wrap text. If I take that off, it goes right across into the next cell. So sometimes you want it to go across into the next cell, sometimes you want it to wrap. If there's anything in this cell, obviously there's not room for it to go all the way across. So it's only if the next cell is blank, it continues, but what you might want is to wrap the cell so that it fits into that particular column. So that's the stuff on layout. And finally, a little word about scrolling, because for a big spreadsheet this can be really, really handy. So what you can do is you can select the cell here that you want the movement to start at. That sounds a bit complicated, but what I do is I go to the command window freeze panes, and what that does, I'll put it back to full size. What I've done is on cell B3 I have frozen the panes, and that means as I scroll down it will scroll, but columns 1 and 2 will stay, and as I scroll to the right again the top ones will stay. So that's a very quick introduction. Don't think I've been too long, about 12 minutes, showing you about number formats, formula, relative and absolute addressing. Layout, remember, was about the wrapping text or not, and scrolling. What you do is you select one cell, in this case B3, and you tell it on the window command in the menu, you tell it to split, to freeze panes, sorry, freeze panes is the one you want. So if you freeze panes, that means it freezes the ones at the top and the left, and it allows you to scroll through big sets of numbers. Hope that was useful. I'd welcome feedback.